My wife told me, my family comes first, you're second. So I quietly put myself first instead. When her family emergency hit, and she expected my money, she finally saw what losing me really looks like. My wife, Emma, had a way of saying the most cutting things as if they were harmless observations. We were sitting at the kitchen table on a random Thursday evening, eating takeout because she'd had a long day and didn't feel like cooking. I didn't mind. God knows I'd covered most of the cooking since we got married anyway. But out of nowhere, in the middle of a conversation about weekend plans, she dropped it. My family always comes first, you're second. Just like that. No hesitation. No softening. She didn't even look up from her phone. I remember staring at her, wondering if she expected me to laugh or nod or thank her for the clarity. But she just kept scrolling, thumbs tapping like she hadn't just kicked the legs out from under our marriage. I took a sip of cold coffee and said, evenly, "Good to know." She didn't notice the way I said it. She rarely did. She'd gotten used to me absorbing things quietly, smoothing them over, making sure her world stayed calm even when mine didn't. But that night, something shifted. Not dramatically, not explosively, just quietly, like a gear sliding out of alignment. Because if I was second in her life, then I was done putting her first in mine. So I started making changes, small ones at first. I opened a separate bank account. I redirected my overtime pay into it. I stopped offering to cover her impulsive, treat-yourself expenses. I stopped canceling my plans every time her family needed help moving furniture, fixing cars, babysitting, or dealing with yet another drama cycle. And the thing is, she didn't notice. Not right away. She was too busy managing her mother's demands, her sister's crises, and her brother's financial irresponsibility. I'd been their on-call handyman, therapist, and wallet for years, and apparently never realized how much I'd been carrying. But now I wasn't carrying any of it. And then came the emergency. The one that would show her exactly what second place feels like. And what happens when a man stops being the family doormat. 2 weeks after I began quietly reorganizing my life, Emma burst into our apartment like a storm front. I was sitting on the couch finishing up a late work email when she rushed in, breathless, clutching her purse like it was a life raft. "It's my mom," she said, pacing instantly. "She slipped on ice outside her house. The hospital needs a deposit before they can run scans." Her eyes flicked to me, not with fear, not with vulnerability, with expectation. That old familiar look that said, "You'll handle it. You always do." Before, the sentence wouldn't even need to be spoken. I would have grabbed my wallet, my keys, whatever it took to keep her and her family afloat, no matter the cost to myself. But now, I had learned my place. Second. So I just nodded slowly. "That's awful. Is she okay?" "She will be," Emma said. "But they need to run tests to confirm she doesn't have a fracture. It's like $1,800 up front." She waved her hand like she wasn't totally sure. "I told them you'd handle it." There it was. Not even a question. A statement. A declaration. An assumption built on years of me being the financial shock absorber for her entire family. I set my laptop aside and leaned back. "Why would you tell them I'd pay?" She blinked. "Because you always do." "I've been making some changes," I said calmly. "My finances are separate now." The confusion on her face was almost comical. Then the irritation. Then the disbelief. "What do you mean separate? Since when?" I shrugged. "Since you told me your family comes first. I figured it was only fair I take care of myself and let you handle family matters." Her mouth fell open. Actually fell open. "Are you kidding me?" she snapped. "My mother is injured." "I'm not saying you shouldn't help her," I replied. "I'm saying I don't come first for you. I'm tired of acting like I do." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Like I'd suddenly grown a second head. "Don't do this," she said, voice shaking with manufactured emotion. "My mom needs help." "I'm sure she does," I said. "And she has a whole family who comes before me. They can handle it." Her voice rose. "They don't have the money." I kept my tone steady. "Neither do I. Not anymore. Not for things I'm not considered a priority in." For a moment, she just froze. Processing. Breaking. Recalculating the world she thought she controlled. "Are you really going to let my mother suffer?" she asked softly. "No," I said. "You are." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Thick. The kind that says the truth finally landed where it needed to. I grabbed my jacket. "I'm going to pick up dinner. If you need the car to go help her, take it." "I can't," she whispered. "I need you." I paused at the door. not to be cruel, but because I wanted her to hear the words clearly, words I'd been choking on for years. Then you should have treated me like someone who mattered. When I stepped out, I didn't slam the door. I didn't make a scene. I just left her standing there, finally tasting what second place felt like. And that wasn't even the breaking point. Not yet, that I didn't expect the breaking point to come so soon. 3 days after the hospital incident, I came home from work to find Emma sitting at the dining table, laptop open, papers spread everywhere like an abandoned case file. Her eyes were red, not from crying, but from the kind of anger that reaches down into the bones. "Sit," she said, not looking up. I stayed standing. "I talked to my mom," she continued. "She said she understands. She said it's okay that you didn't help. But she also said," Emma raised her head, "that she won't forget it." I nodded slowly. I assumed she wouldn't. "You're just fine with that?" I didn't cause her injury. I didn't choose to be second place. "She didn't mean it like that," Emma snapped. She meant it exactly like that," I said. "You meant it like that. And I'm done pretending I'm the backbone of a family that doesn't see me as part of it." Her jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitch. Then she slid a stack of papers across the table. Bank statements, credit card charges, a payment confirmation to a private loan account I didn't recognize. "Explain this," she said. I leaned in. "Explain what?" "This loan. Why did you take out a personal loan? Why would you hide that from me?" Oh, there it was. The real storm. I didn't smile. But a part of me, the part that had been ignored for years, felt a strange sense of vindication. "I didn't take out a loan," I said. "I moved my savings." "What savings?" "You have savings." Her eyes widened. "Since when?" I let out a breath, leaning against the counter. "I've had savings for years, Emma. I just stopped sharing every detail with you when I realized every dollar I had was treated like a family resource." Her face flushed with rage. "So you lied." "I protected myself." "That's the same thing." "No," I said calmly. "It isn't." She shoved her chair back and stood. "You're hiding money while my family suffers?" "Your family has always suffered," I said quietly. "There's always been another crisis, another emergency, another person who needs help. And you never once stopped to ask if I could handle being the wallet for 7 people." "You're being dramatic," she hissed. I raised a brow. "You called my financial independence a betrayal." "Because it is," she said. "We're married. We're supposed to take care of each other." "Funny you say that," I replied. "Because I haven't felt taken care of in a very long time." She flinched. Actually flinched. There was a tremor in her voice now. "My family is all I have. And I never asked you to choose between us," I said. "I only asked not to be last." "You're not last." "I'm not first," I corrected. "And in a marriage, that matters." Her eyes welled, not with grief, but with the panic of losing control. "Okay," she said, stepping closer. "Fine. We can fix this. Just release the funds. Pay the bill. Help my mom. And we'll talk about the rest after. Please." There it was again, the quiet assumption beneath the pleading. "Do what I need. Then we'll deal with you." I shook my head. "I'm not paying." Her face hardened, turning to ice in real time. "You're really choosing yourself over my family?" "I'm choosing myself over being used." She let out a sharp laugh. "You've never been used. You're dramatic. You're selfish. You're acting like a stranger." "No," I said. "I'm acting like someone who finally realizes he has value." Her eyes narrowed. "You think this is going to make me change? You think withholding money is going to teach me a lesson?" "I'm not teaching you anything," I replied. "I'm just not financing the consequences of your choices anymore." She inhaled sharply. "You're unbelievable." I shrugged. "You're predictable." She grabbed her phone, tapped furiously, then turned the screen toward me like she was presenting evidence at trial. A group family chat. Her siblings. Her parents. Everyone except me. At the bottom, her last message. "Don't worry. He'll pay. He always does." Then another. "He's being stubborn right now, but I'll handle him." My chest tightened. Not with pain, not with shock. With clarity. Crystal clear clarity. "So," I said quietly, "that's what I am to you." "Stop," she whispered. "You're taking it out of context." "No," I said. "For once in my life, I'm taking it in context." She reached out to grab my hand. I stepped back. It was the first time I'd ever seen her afraid, not of losing money, not of disappointing her family, but of losing me. "You don't understand," she said. "My family." "Your family," I interrupted, "is not my responsibility." And I'm done pretending we're a team when you've never played on my side. Her breath hitched. Where are you going? I'm going to get some air, I said, grabbing my keys. And when I come back, we're talking about the future. She swallowed. Together? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. And for the first time in our marriage, that decision was mine. Final update that I didn't plan to stay out long that night. I just needed the kind of silence where a person can hear their own thoughts without someone else's needs pressing against the edges. I drove to the grocery store parking lot, the one we used to stop at late at night for ice cream runs in the early days of dating. Back when everything felt easy. Back when Emma looked at me like she saw a future instead of a utility. I sat there with the engine off and watched the reflections of neon lights tremble on the wet asphalt. And for the first time in years, I let myself feel everything I had been holding together with duct tape. And it's fine. It wasn't fine. It had never been fine. I had confused being needed with being loved. And she had taken that confusion and built our marriage on it. Around 10:30, my phone buzzed. Emma, come home. Please. We need to talk. I'm scared. Then, I'm sorry. I really am. Just come home. I'm alone. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because the part of me that would have rushed back, eager to fix, to soothe, to carry, felt gone. Not dead, just not available on demand. When I finally walked through the door around 11, the apartment lights were dim. Emma was sitting on the couch with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked small, genuinely small. For a brief second, I felt the instinct to comfort. It flickered, then faded. Sit, she said quietly. I sat across from her. She exhaled shakily. I talked to my mom again. I told her. I told her you couldn't pay. And she said it wasn't your responsibility, that it was wrong of me to assume. I nodded. Emma swallowed. And my sister offered to cover the deposit. She said it's not fair to put everything on you. I didn't expect that. I'm glad, I said. And I meant it. She looked up at me. I don't want us to fall apart. We already have, I said gently. We just didn't admit it. Her eyes shimmered, not manipulative this time, not a performance, but with something more fragile. Why didn't you tell me you were unhappy? I did, I said, just quietly. And you didn't hear me until the money stopped flowing. She closed her eyes. I know. I know. We didn't yell. We didn't fight. It was the calmest, quietest unraveling of something that used to matter. Do you want a divorce? She whispered finally. I didn't answer immediately. Not because I didn't know, but because saying it aloud felt like typing the last sentence of a chapter I'd spent years revising, trying to fix, trying to rewrite. I don't want one, I said softly, but I think we need one. She covered her mouth with her hand as if the words physically struck her. Is there anything I can do? She whispered. I think the only thing left is to let each other go before we do more damage. She shook her head, tears streaking quietly. I never meant to make you feel used. I know, I said, but intent doesn't erase the reality. And the reality is, I lost myself in this marriage. And I finally found the pieces again. A long silence settled between us. Not hostile, just the silence of acceptance. Then she said something I didn't expect. I treated you like a resource because I grew up watching my mom rely on my dad that way. I thought that's what partnership meant. I thought if you provided, it meant you cared. I do care, I said, just not at the expense of myself anymore. She wiped her cheeks with her sleeves. I'm sorry I made you second. I looked at her for a long time. Really looked. At the woman I had loved. At the partner I had tried to support. At the stranger I had become invisible to. You didn't make me second, I said finally. I made myself second. And I won't do that again. We talk logistics. Quietly. Calmly. The way people do when they're exhausted enough to be honest. She'd stay with her sister for a while. We'd divide our accounts. We'd file without lawyers to keep it clean. No revenge. No fire. Just two people acknowledging they had grown into shapes that no longer fit together. Before she left that night, she stopped at the door. Do you hate me? She asked. No, I said. I don't hate you. I'm just done losing myself. She nodded slowly. I hope someday you forgive me. I hope someday you forgive yourself. She left. The click of the door closing was small, but it echoed through the apartment like a last line in a book. That was months ago. And here's the truth, the part people don't like to admit. There's no triumphant ending. No sudden joy. No dramatic rebirth. Just space. And quiet. And the slow, grinding process of rebuilding boundaries I should have had long before her. Some days I feel free. Some days I miss the version of us that existed before reality intruded. Most days I feel neutral. Healing isn't a light switch. It's a dimmer, inching toward clarity millimeter by millimeter. But I do know this. I'm first in my own life now. Not because I wanted to be alone, but because I should have never settled for being second. It's a heavy truth, but it's mine, and it's real. And for the first time in years, that's enough.